you very much.
You can start. She is. Okay. Good evening. Thank you. I would like to welcome all members and guests to the Old Town Hall in Stratford for this meeting of the Council. I would like to welcome the members of the public and press who are physically attending or watching on YouTube. With regards to the meeting health and safety, members may choose to wear face masks, and following guidance on public health and considering the local levels of C-19 cases, we have maintained some social distancing and the windows are open to maintain good ventilation. There are speakers throughout the room to help with the increased background noise. If you are invited to speak, please use the microphones if one has been provided, or walk to the nearest microphone stand situated on the left and right-hand sides of the room. Please, can I ask the members and officers to introduce themselves when speaking, not to touch the microphones, but to stand close when talking into it. Please do not move the microphone when speaking. I would like to ask that everyone turns their mobile phones to silent mode. We are not expecting a fire drill this evening, so if the alarm sounds, please remain calm and follow the instructions of the Town Hall staff. Please note there are no opportunity for members of the press and public to speak or address elected members during the meeting. Before starting the formal proceedings tonight, colleagues, I would like us to take a minute's silence to remember Plaistows Elm, Sir David Amis, MP, who was tragically killed while serving the community last Friday. David was an East End Londoner through and through. He was born in Plaistow, Newham, was educated at St. Bonaventure's Grammar School in Forest Gate. David even ran for Parliament in Newham Northwest during the 1979 election before becoming a councillor in neighboring Redbridge. David was a tireless campaigner for Southend and loved representing them as their MP for nearly 25 years. Everyone present and beyond would agree that David has been taken too soon by this terrible attack on democracy itself. Colleagues, please join me in this minute's silence as we give our thoughts for his family, and thanks to David Amis MP for South and West for his tireless public service. Please, minute silence, please. Should we stand? Thank you. I have a request from two members who want to say a few words on behalf of David Amos. I think I'm quite right in thinking too that the mayor probably would want to mention that later on. Am I right in that? Thank you very much. Can I now call on Councillor Griffith to make his contribution, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Of all the things I might have done being elected to this council and involved in election campaigns, I really didn't think I was going to be asked to give a tribute to an opponent who was horribly stabbed to death serving his constituents. But I thought I should because I actually met him. First time I remember was the general election in 1979 when he was the Conservative candidate, turned up at my local polling station at Holbrook Hub with a tune blaring out of his car singing the praises of Margaret Thatcher. He was never one to be shy or retiring in expressing his opinions. From that, I've had occasion to check up his record locally. He was the runner-up in that election with 7,937 votes and 26.5% share. That made him the most popular Conservative of all those who ever stood in the former New North West constituency. Further back in the West Ham North constituency, which was much the same, there was only one Conservative who ever got a bigger share of the vote, and that was in 1951, where there were only two candidates, and it was before he was born. He also stood for election to this council in 1974 and in 1978, both being runner-up in the former Forest Gate ward. More than doubled his vote between the two. No Conservative since had more votes, and only two were runner-up. So I think it's fair to say that in this area where he grew up and stood before he became famous elsewhere, he was probably one of the more popular and redoubtable opponents. And then there was the last time I saw him, which was in this very hall, where Newham Council had an event to celebrate getting the high-speed railway line run here at the station at Stratford. He briefly mentioned other differences, and he congratulated Newham Council on this great success. And I think that's the kind of person he was.
Can I now call on Councillor Paul, please?
Thank you, Chair. To David Amos, Knight of the Realm, love father, husband, MP, and St. Bon's boy. Sir David was an old boy of my old school, St. Bonaventures, and he was and always will remain to many of us a Bon's boy. In a recent radio interview, he actually admitted that his political career was started at St. Bon's when him and another pupil ran in the school elections, which are quite famous as the Revolutionarist Party, which I think is very St. Bon's. He campaigned at the time for banning, or not, I think, well, bombing the Rhodesian government, who at the time were very racist, and also to impose limits on homework. And that was David, and that happened in the 1960s when he was at school. Ever since I was at school in the 1980s, David has always been part of the St. Bon's furniture. We're always told if David Amos can be a Tory and an MP, then there's nothing we can't do. And even at school, he was always our old boy. As some of you may know, St. Bon's is a bit of a cult. You never leave it, you just graduate in your sixth form and you move on, but you're always part of the school. And it was always part of the story for all the boys who go there. It was always, well, he did it. He lived in Plaistow and he lived across the road from the school. And just a measure of the man, on our Facebook site for the school, there are not only outpourings, but stories of David doing those small, quiet things. It may be from giving work experience to somebody who was described to the left of Jeremy Corbyn. And there's a proud picture of David with said pupil sitting in his office. There are stories of David always asking quietly, what can you do for the school? There are pictures of David on our Facebook site with the admin staff on our school, the receptionist. And that's because he grew up across the road from the school. And as a tribute and the way he felt about the school, his mum, Maud, died a couple of years ago, and he planted a tree in our lawn. And every year he would plant flowers on our anniversary and always pop into the school. But he always found opportunity to go into school and be part of it. The last time I spoke to David was a couple of years ago at our 140th anniversary as a school, where we had a big mass and there are proud pictures of David with bronze boys of all ages. He was just an old boy on that day, and he came up to me and said, "Do you still go to mass?" I had to admit, not as much as I should, but don't tell my mum, David. But interesting, my last image of him, my memory, he was actually sitting behind me in church. And yes, he was talking in church, as we shouldn't do at school. And he was, because he was sitting next to one of his old muckers. And they were having a good old ding dong about the good old days. I would say it's not often we speak of somebody of the opposite political persuasion to us ourselves. But for David Amis, he was a bronze boy and he's part of our furniture. And I would say for someone who did some very small and quiet things, but even though he left many, many years, was part of the school and he will always be part of the school. And, at this point, I say to his family, he's deeply missed by many of us. And if I can say, many of us were touched on Friday and Saturday by what happened, because a lot of us knew him personally. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Can I turn to item 1 on the agenda pack? Apologies for absence. I have received apologies for absence for this evening meeting from Councillor Zulfikar Ali, Councillor Jennifer Bailey, Councillor Daniel Blaney, Councillor Steve Brayshaw, Councillor Aisha Chowdhury, Councillor Ken Clark, Councillor Sasha Dasgupta, Councillor Mariam Dawood, Councillor Aminat Gandagaran, Councillor Pat Holland, Councillor Lester Hudson, Councillor Lufa Jam, Councillor Joy Laguda, Councillor Danny Lee Pathway, Councillor Feroza Nikawola, Councillor Salim Patel, Councillor Musabah Rahman, Councillor Lakmini Shah, Councillor Havinder Verdi, and Councillor Tony Wilson, and Councillor Khan. Are there any other apologies of absence from councillors? Councillor Rachel Tripp anymore? Say again? Okay, thank you very much for that. Item 2 on your agenda. Are there any members wishing to declare any disclosable pecuniary interests or personal or prejudicial interests they may have in any matter which is to be considered at this meeting? I take it is none. Moving on to item 3, minutes of the last meeting. I move as a correct record the minutes of the last ordinary meeting of the council held on the 20th of September 2021. Do you have a seconder, please? Yeah, Councillor Lofthouse. Is that agreed? Thank you very much indeed. Item 4 on your agenda, proposed change to the calendar of meetings February 2022. In order to better facilitate the council's budget setting process, And to allow more time, I move that the scheduled date of the meeting of the council to be held on Monday, 14th February 2022, be moved to Monday, the 25th of February 2022, which is a budget meeting of the council. Please, may I have a seconder? All right, in both house. Well, thank you very much. Is that agreed? Thank you. Item 5 on your agenda, new partners update. There are no updates for partners this evening. Item 6, announcements by the chair. I wish to make the following announcements. Pearly King, Mr. Howard is NUM's new Pearly King as of the 12th of October, taking the hat from his uncle George. NUM also has an additional King of Forest Gate, which is under the Pearly King of NUM, recognized by the Pearly Kings of Queens Society, allowed by George Davison many years ago. I am sure we all wish Howard well in his new job. I would also like to announce that I attended the London Mayor's service at Westminster Abbey yesterday. This is also Black History Month, and a number of events have been undertaken by the local authority. And if you'd like to log into the website blackhistorymonth.org, you'll find all the details there. I also want to announce that the Deputy Mayor, Charlene McLean, visited a dockside deputation from the NATO Navy. I think it was on the 10th of October. Thank you very much for that. Moving on to item 7 on your agenda. Can I ask the Mayor if she has any announcements, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I do. Firstly, colleagues, reflecting on the 1 minute silence, but also the warm and heartfelt and certainly heart-wrenching words of Councillor Alan Griffiths following the heinous murder of St. David Amos on Friday, which is now being investigated as a potential terrorist attack. We need to absolutely redouble our efforts on ensuring that the civility that is required in our political discourse and the culture of respect towards politicians and elected representatives remains an absolute focus on part of all people who have the privilege to serve in office, be they members of Parliament, members of the House of Lords, local councillors, leaders across all the authorities that are doing such incredible and transformative things for their residents, and are doing it because they are driven by a sense of purpose of wanting to be part of a wider movement of changing the world. And yes, we need to ensure that we balance that with our liberties, freedom of speech, but no freedom comes unqualified. You have the right to disagree, but please do it in a way that's disagreeable. You have the right to have and hold a different perspective, but please keep in check and in mind whether your words can encourage hate. And let this murder, following some 5 years after the murder of Joe Cox by someone who was motivated and fueled by hatred, informed by words, both verbal and written online, that we redouble our efforts to stamp out hate speech wherever it occurs. And that includes holding social media platforms to account. And I know that there is a renewed debate as to whether there should be legislation brought forward by government to ensure that those monsters that evoke hate through anonymized Twitter accounts or Facebook accounts or other social media accounts have nowhere to hide. And that the war that is raging in what is known as the deep web is tackled and kept in check. And that will be as befitting a legacy to Sir David, who, as has rightly been pointed out, gave so much to this borough, having been born here and contributing to the enrichment and the experiences of young people at St. Bon's, and may his soul rest in peace. I want to also convey a couple of additional important announcements this evening. The first is ahead of COP26, which starts at the end of this month. I wanted to alert members here at Full Council this evening that I, along with many other leaders, late last week signed up to the UK 100 pledge against climate change. UK 100 is a network of local authority leaders and councillors who have signed up to maintaining the focus on all the changes that we need to institute to address and stave off the existential threat facing humanity. And in the context of the UK 100 pledge against climate change, the pledge itself commits us here at Newham Council to the goal of carbon zero in the council's operations by 2030 and carbon zero for the borough by 2050. And finally, there's been much debates over recent weeks, both in this place, but also in other arenas of our discourse as elected representatives around the importance of culture in the borough. There's been controversies relating to the arts performing specialist hub that we've established at the Stratford Circus building, which is part of our youth empowerment expansion. And there's been an absolute eruption of culture and creativity and its expression across the borough through Newham Unlocked and Black History Month. And I'm pleased to announce that from this week, having commissioned a cultural strategy team to help support us in the development of our strategy, the first that will be in existence, the team will be commencing with an expansive engagement exercise with all of our arts and cultural partners in the borough, our local residents and other community groups, to ensure that we have an exciting vision for culture here in the borough. And the strategy itself will be launched next year in February. And it comes on the back of last week's launch of the Royal Docks Originals Festival, which myself, along with Councillor Charlene McLean, attended over in the Royal Docks. And that's another example of how we are absolutely committed to investing in culture as part of our widening participation agenda, our social inclusion agenda, and also ensuring that as one of the boroughs with the lowest participation rates, which has been acknowledged by English Heritage and most recently by Arts Council England, who have designated Newham a priority place, which means that they will be working with us over the next 3 years to expand our cultural enrichment programs for all parts of our community. I'm looking very much forward to seeing the eruption of culture, creativity across all of our spaces here in Newham. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Item number 8 on your agenda pack. Can I ask the Chief Executive If she has any announcements to make, please.
I have no announcements to make this evening. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Item number 9, any updates by cabinet members, deputy cabinet members, or commissioners? Any member of the cabinet, deputy cabinet member, commissioner who wishes to update council will be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. There shall be no debate or questions allowed. Does any member of the cabinet, deputy cabinet member, or commissioner wish to speak? And I can say at this time there are 3 members who want to speak. And can I first ask Councillor James Beckles, please, to give his update?
Thank you very much, Chair. Good evening, colleagues, and to guests in the chamber and residents viewing from home. As part of our commitment as an administration to address and tackle the antisocial behaviour of littering in our borough, Cabinet on the 5th of October agreed a new pilot enforcement contract to provide additional environmental enforcement officers to support the work of the Community Safety Service. These officers will proactively patrol Newham and be able to find those who are caught littering in our borough. The pilot is not intended to be a punitive measure, but we are taking a zero tolerance approach to those who have a disregard for our streets and do not share our intentions to keep Newham tidy. We know that littering and other enviro crimes can blight the lives of residents, make our streets look untidy and feel unsafe. This pilot will provide additional resources to help address the concerns of our residents and the cleanliness of our boroughs. So to those residents at home and to members in this room, we have heard you and we are responding. And days of actions, through our multi-service days of action, we are taking an intelligence-led approach to tackle antisocial behaviour at a ward level. We recently held successful multi-agency days of action in Beckton, Custom House and Canning Town South, where we engage local residents and businesses to discuss the issues most affecting them. We issued fixed penalty notices for fly tipping, littering and highway obstruction, and also issued warnings for antisocial street drinking. We will continue to hold these days of actions regularly throughout the borough in a 6-weekly cycle. Women's safety remains one of the main focuses of this administration. Violence against women and girls is intolerable. And the Community Safety Service work through partnership with colleagues in public health to address this. Through commissioned services such as Hestia, who provide support to women through an independent domestic violence advocates network, domestic and sexual violence floating support, specialist domestic abuse court coordinator, female genital mutilation support, a multi-agency risk assessment conference, MARIC coordinator, domestic and sexual violence peer support, and exiting sex work support workers. The NIA project delivers services for women and girls who have been subjected to sexual and domestic violence and abuse, including prostitution. NIA run the East London Rape Crisis Centre to deliver support, crisis intervention and counselling to women in Newham and elsewhere. To support the development of our domestic abuse and violence against women and girls strategy, we want to hear from members of the community, especially women and girls. This is why we will be organising community conversations to speak to women about where they feel unsafe in Newham and why. This work will also be further developed in partnership with the police to ensure that we have a clear plan to tackle safety and provide better reassurance in our open spaces across the borough. Finally, the council street races and antisocial driving, which have blighted the lives of residents living in Custom House and Beckton. Officers on joint operations in August and September have led to more than 10 vehicles being seized, antisocial behaviour warnings issued, and arrests made for drink driving and drug possession. These activities disturb our residents and endanger them. It's intolerable and it's not going to be looked upon favourably by us. We will continue to work with the police and pursue all tools at our disposal to put a stop to it. And may I say finally, the kind words that Terry and also Alan have made towards Sir David Amos, and as a Newham lad and former Plaster resident, he will be sorely missed. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Second to speak, to give an update, is, can I call on Councillor James Asher, please? Talk about fly tipping and recycling.
You can if I can get my mask off. Thank you, Chair. As Councillor Beckles has outlined, we are bringing in new measures to tackle littering, and I would like to add to that detail and talk about the wider work and plans we are undertaking to clean the borough. We know that there's work to do and that residents want to see more action on making Newham a cleaner place to live. That is why this summer we ended the 3 separate companies, cleaning companies on our streets and brought the service back in-house. No more differing services, no more postcode lottery of performance, and no more marking our own homework. In future, Keep Britain Tidy will be assessing the standards to give us an independent view on what we need to do. Over the next few months, we'll be reshaping the service to make it more effective and more responsive. In the short term, the team will be targeting high streets and our main public areas. We've identified the key fly tipping hotspots, and over the next 3 to 6 months, we'll be focusing and tackling on those to ensure they're reduced. We're also removing the 10 lowest delivering but highest fly tip recycling points, and we will also be redesigning those well-used recycling points with high fly tipping to stop them being used as dumping grounds. In the longer term, we are making other changes. We will launch a road deep cleaning strategy. We will review how we collect high street waste and reduce fly tipping chances. We're ensuring better working between street cleaning and waste collections. We will bring in new cleaning equipment. We will modernise our cleaning fleet. We're improving the reporting Love Newham app. We'll be ensuring resources are allocated and moved to where demand is most needed. We will bring back the broom, more sweeping of streets and less just litter picking to try and clear up everything that is dropped on our streets. We'll be improving conditions for staff with better support, more training and inductions. We'll be reviewing our cleaning schedules. There'll be more clarity and transparency on how we clean and where we clean. There'll be more support for caretakers and estate cleaning to clean up our housing estates. We're reviewing our in-cab technology and our on-street IT. We will work on a programme to design out fly tipping hotspots by changing the layout of our streets and identifying the problems that cause it in the first place. And we'll be improving our working with partners and cross-department work. And in that vein, we'll be working with the community, more community events, more resident clear-up days, more councillor action days, tying in with the work that Councillor Beckles has already outlined. And there'll be more work jointly with the enforcement team to tackle those who don't respect our borough. And my colleague, Councillor Mohammed, will be looking at tightening our landlord licensing rules to ensure those who rent property are doing the right thing at the end of rental terms. And to assure maximum awareness, we'll be launching an awareness campaign on illegal dumping, refreshing our public materials on waste and recycling, and providing more education on how and where to dispose of waste to ensure people know the best ways to get rid of it and avoid it ending on the streets. And if you'll indulge me just a little longer, Chair, because I suspect I'm going over time, I wish to make an announcement today on our recycling. We know we need to do more. We know residents want to do more. So I can announce from mid-November, we'll be expanding our service and expanding the range of materials that you can put in the recycling bins. Aerosols, glass, plastic pots, plastic tubs, plastic trays, and clean tin foil will all be able to be put in the orange top bins from November. This will help our recycling rates and help our residents recycle more and drive up our overall recycling rate as we're committed to increasing it year on year. We remain committed to bringing in weekly recycling collections, which we don't currently have, but I'm sorry to say that the current HGV driver shortage is affecting all councils, as I'm sure people are aware, which means we can't do that at this point. We will have to delay to 2022, but we are working to recruit as fast as we can so we can roll that out because it remains a key commitment. And I think people will start to see the difference, and we are absolutely committed to make sure people do see a difference on our streets. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Could I call upon Councillor Carlin Parkway, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members, officers and the public. As you may be aware, on Friday the 8th of October, there was a terrible incident that took place in Upton Park. A shooting occurred in a barber shop where 3 individuals were injured. Their injuries are not life-threatening, but will be life-changing, and the impact of such an event is widely felt by all. On Wednesday the 13th, Councillor Beckles and I, along with the police, held a public meeting online where we came together to listen and hear from our residents. The police also at that meeting informed the residents of the progress of the police investigation. Subsequently, on Friday the 15th, the Mayor, Councillor Beckles and ward councillors and myself went to the Upton Lane area to meet with residents and business owners, to listen to the concerns and provide reassurance. We are committed to ensuring our neighbourhoods are safe for all, and we are working with the Met Police to ensure that this happens. Within my directorate, the Brighter Futures Directorate, along with Councillor Beckles in Community Safety Directorate, we have been holding a series of conversations to continue the work with our communities in shaping our approach together within the serious youth violence. As the safety of our residents, especially those that are children, is everybody's business. Lastly, before I leave, want to applaud to you all. The police investigation in this case is still ongoing. And if you have any information that you wish to share, please do contact the police or Crime Stoppers anonymously. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Item 10 on your agenda, overview and scrutiny committee update on work programme or future commissions. I call upon Councillor Anthony McAlmont as chair of the overview and scrutiny committee. Do you have anything to say with regard to the board governance scrutiny topics or overview and scrutiny? If so, you have up to 5 minutes to speak, Tony.
Yes, indeed, Chair. Chair, the overview and scrutiny work program, as agreed in July of this year, continue to deliver apace. All commissions have meetings with full agendas scheduled for November or December and beyond. There are also in-depth scrutiny reviews taking place through the activities of 2 separate scrutiny commissions, one on the removal of combustible cladding from residential properties, and another looking at the relationship between Black boys and the borough. Both will continue to take evidence through the autumn and winter of this year. The Budget Working Commission has had its full planning meeting, and it is in the process of setting up a series of meetings with departments during the course of November to look at the current budget. Once the proposed draft budgets for next year is available in early December, we will, on the basis of that budget, decide which area we would like to look at more closely. Generally speaking, areas the Budget Working Commission is interested in includes key assumptions underlying departmental budgets, the current position with areas earmarked for savings or efficiency, an expectation as we move towards the end of the financial year, as well as any area of slippage and associated risk. All of these will be factored into our final report of the Commission being presented to the Mayor and our executive in early February of 2022. External independent co-optees from the Institute of Physical Studies and the Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountants participated in our first budget scrutiny and will be so on an ongoing basis. The Scrutiny Commission on the relationship between Black boys and the borough recently held its third evidence gathering session, focusing on the educational attainment of these boys. Thank you to Sarah, the Cabinet Member for Education, Children and Young People, and Tim, and officers for attending. Our thanks also goes to the head teacher of Kingsland Secondary School and the deputy head teacher of St. Bon's. The commission has made good progress, and a number of recommendations are already surfacing from its work. We were also able to complete a site visit to St. Bon's last Friday, and we are in the process of arranging a site visit to the pupil referral units, as well as a focus group on the Black boys and their parents, since these are central to the work of the commission. The next theme of the Black Boys Commission will be the mental health of these boys. Thank you to all my colleagues and officers for participating in the work of scrutiny, either through your work directly on the commission or as member of the executive, for engaging with us. We have a carefully considered and full work program to deliver before the AGM next year. And I know we can continue to depend on your support for this crucial function. Thank you. Is there any questions?
Oh, you've done my job for me now. Okay, carry on.
Always willing to do so, Chair.
Yeah, any question from members to the Overview Scrutiny Report? I think not, Tony. Thank you very much indeed. Item 11 on your agenda pack. The Chief Executive received one request to stage a deputation on behalf of a resident who wished to stage a deputation called Access for All in Newham, which under Rule 28.1 has been referred to the lead member, Councillor James Asser. Do you want to respond, Councillor Asser? Say again.
Sorry, Chair, you caught me on the hop. I don't, because as yet I have not had further contact on information, so I'm not in a position to respond at this point.
Thank you. Item 12, petitions. Does any member have a petition they wish to present to Council? Councillor Ruiz.
Thank you very much, Chair. This is a petition from Class 4V, North Beckton Primary School. Councillor Lofthouse and I had the pleasure of meeting and answering numerous questions earlier this month. This is a petition they have asked me to present to the Mayor. And if you'll indulge me, Chair, I would like to read out what the bulk of the petition.
Yeah, do carry on.
They say, Newham is an amazing place just because of your hard work, especially during the challenging times we all face together. That's not us, that's you, Rox. We would really like to have free youth clubs for younger children that can help us and our hard-working parents. We are proud to attend North Beckton School and are proud members of Class 4V. We feel our community could provide engaging and adventurous free time provision for younger children. To maximise the fun, it would be great to have free snacks to calm our roaring like a lion stomachs. It would also be great to have a drama studio where we could express our concerns and overcome barriers, yoga to help us be calm, and a great outdoor space to run around as free as the wind. Also, a cinema to watch a free movie once a week. We would also like pets to show us how to care for each other, and a peaceful, inviting area so we could make new friends and be good friends like we have in 4V. Oh, and it needs to be open until 8 p.m. so our parents know we are safe and don't have to stress when they have to work late. Thank you.
Could you ensure, please, Council, that you pass your petition to Democratic Services? You have, thank you. Okay, item 13, members' questions. There are no member questions this evening. Takes us then to agenda item 14. We have received 2 questions from members of the public. The questions submitted and the answers are those which appear in tonight's order paper. The answers will be mailed to the questionnaires and will appear in the minutes of this meeting. Can I ask, is there any member of the public who has a question appearing in the order paper and wishes to read it out? There isn't, yeah? Okay. Does the relevant member of the cabinet wish to add anything to the question? Yes. Councillor Charlene McLean, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. It's quite a comprehensive answer, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank resident Anita Smith for her question. It's always good to have an extra opportunity to explain about the due diligence with regards to the process for community assemblies. And if there was any particular issue that she had, she's more than welcome to contact me directly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The second question is from... Oh, sorry, do you want to come back? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly, as with the previous question, I mean, it's a fairly full answer, but I just wanted to touch on the fact that obviously the question relates to repairs being done when there wasn't a pothole. And I think as the answer has explained, one of the things we're trying to do is get ahead of work. So as well as resurfacing, we do repair work to roads that have yet to have potholes to prevent them happening. And that's part of our ongoing expansion of the service and the delivery in terms of ensuring the roads are safe and well maintained. So people may well see us coming and repairing roads which they haven't spotted, but that's part of our new program. We've got new highway inspectors in identifying problems before they happen so that we're ahead of them. So thank the question. I hope the questioner's, the answer for the questioner is clear, but I wanted to make sure to the rest of residents watching that this is part of a wider scheme to ensure that we're dealing with problems ahead of time.
Thank you very much indeed. Question number 2. Again to James Asler. The response has been published. Does any member wish to read their submitted question? I will ask if any member of cabinet has anything further to add to their respective answers already published in the paper. Does the member want to read the question? So it's not here. Could we move on? Councillor Asser, is you again?
I think that was his response.
Oh, you did? You answered too, did you? Thank you for that. Okay, thank you. Item 15, speeches from members. There are no speeches from members this evening. Item 16, motions. There are no motions this evening, which takes us to agenda item 17, Citizens Assembly recommendations update. Before I ask the mayor to move the recommendation in the report, I move that Council Procedure Rule 17, Rules of Debate, be suspended to allow for up to 15 minutes for named members of the Assembly to speak, as noted in the agenda, which was published on the 8th of October. Therefore, thereafter, the normal rules of debate apply. No questions for the public will be allowed. Can I have a seconder, please? It's down Council Lofthouse. Thank you very much on that. Is that agreed? Thank you very much for that. The representatives of the Citizens Assembly are now joining us by Zoom. Welcome to Charmaine, Nareen, Veronica, Habib, and Manolara Selvi. If not already, please turn on your camera and please introduce yourself. When speaking to your presentation, you'll have up to 15 minutes in total to speak. I understand, Veronica, you'll be starting, and thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Honourable. Welcome the presentation. Can you all hear me properly? Okay, apologies. Welcome to the presentation of the recommendations with me, Veronica. It has been exactly 3 months since the Citizen Assembly took part by 50 people that came across from different neighbourhoods in Newham. The 5 of us today are going to share the recommendations that we have categorised to need the most attention. And I will pass it on to my colleague, Mala.
Thank you, Veronica, for the introduction. I'm here to talk about what we did in our assembly, and we explored the assembly on about the green spaces, and we had 5 days together as an assembly in the meeting, and we were working under 5 micro groups, and we were discussing about what are the recent challenges what we are facing in our borough and Newham, and we got to listen to many issues about the from the experts about the range of things what's happening, and with their experience we were about to know what are the things happening in the borough and Newham. We have discussed about what are the changes we can do as an assembly, as a people of the council, and we have concluded and recommended, and we come up with a set of recommendations putting forward to the council. So I would now hand over to my colleague Habib. Thank you.
Hi, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Firstly, thank you very much to Council giving us the opportunity to join the Citizens Assembly and listen to the views of the residents of Newham, and thank you very much. As my colleague mentioned, there are quite a few micro groups that went on, and the main themes that come out of it is safety and crime was very important with us. From all the groups that went in, that came priority. Moving on to community involvement and engagement, it shows how Newham can get communities involved in what they're doing to make it a better Newham and to get the businesses involved. Introduce more activities for the people of Newham to do things. Protect and increase our green spaces. There's a lot of green spaces and how we can protect them. There's a lot of things going on, but it's to carry on respecting them and protecting them. Maybe rewilding and environmentalism, increase the airflow in there, rewild flowers, just keeping it clean, and moves on to maintenance and litter. I mean, that's another priority where I think in the park it's lacking in the green spaces. Maybe we can improve on that. Then the facilities that makes the park comfortable, where we can go into the park, feel relaxed, let the old people come in, let the young come in, and have a nice atmosphere in the park where it's more appealing to the residents. Thank you very much. Now I'll move it on to Charmaine.
Thank you so much. Everybody can hear me well? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. This is the first priority top item which we have selected for safety and crime. So when we're talking about the safety and crime, we would like to feel safe everywhere, from in-house to outdoor, in green space, in our street, in everywhere. We'd like to feel safe. And then crime is happening. Actually, we had lots of things during this time, and then it really is heartbroken to listen these things. So our recommendation, one of the top priority, I would like to that the mayor will take a consideration. So in Newham, we will have a park and green space which enable communities to connect together for purpose of fun and engagement. Please, next slide. So from there, when we're talking about the action, so one of the priority action, and we talk about the fun and engagement. So fun could be the open days and activities in green space. As a family, I have kids, and I would like to go outside and in green space, use it, and have a nice time. Where in this green space, it will reduce the opportunity for antisocial behavior. So every family, every people will go out willingly. So another thing we can do is a program for younger people and those who are vulnerable. So this can be the access for everyone, for every people, say from the younger, for disability, for every group. So they will feel safe in our park. Then another thing we can introduce is a park ranger to engage in our park. So that's cool. That's increase presence to help people feel safer while renew PSPO. So which is going to be public space protection order. So this, if I know that during the pandemic, lots of people and they are not longer alive, and then the park ranger are short of staff. So in this case, we can engage younger people and training them and give them opportunity to come out and help us and help everybody to doing this. So the other things that the council can do it if so the council must commit to ensure people feel safe in their space by using technology, project, and other resources to prevent and reduce the crime. So this could be the action, technology, and design equipment. So when we are out, we would like to feel safe. So in the park, we can use like a CCTV and innovative lighting can reduce the crime and improve our sense of safety. And the other things that can be gathering, using, and sharing data more effectively. So this will help us understand and update where there is a local need or change in order to direct resources appropriately. So this would engage us in everywhere. Please, next slide. Thank you. So why we have done this one? This assembly meeting was really important for us. We spent 5 days, as my colleague mentioned. So we'd like to thus our recommendation, it will be taken in consideration. So this is all about including, reaching out to everyone and improving the health and confidence of the people who live in here. So I do live in here from the day one in Newham. So I would like to feel safe in our park, safe in everywhere, and stop feeling like, no, I don't want to go out because it's dark. No, because it's a winter. No, I would like to go because I feel safe in our place. So this is what from my side, and then our assembly we have done. Thank you so much. And I would like to pass my colleague, Mala, sorry.
Thank you, Shamin. So our group have 6 people, and we were discussing about the activities and how we can engage the people of the Newham with the events and activities which can be held in the public places and green spaces, so that we involve people, more people, and make the people engage in social life and taking the more space of the green space. So, and we were concentrating on creating the good awareness of how we can get the engagement with the people, how to reach people, so, and giving local incentives such as local currencies to reward the people by taking part in the activities. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we come up with 5 actions, and first one is to develop a digital platform for activities. So we could help get help from the universities and other small and business people to help us develop the digital platform where we can showcase what are the activities being done in Newham and getting the people involved with the help of council. So action 2 is we need guidance from council so that we can collaborate and work together and promote the activities so that every people in the community and in Newham Borough will be able to get the news about the things happening in the council and make them involved with the programs which they are able to participate. So our 4th will be rewarding activities. Like how can we reward the people by promoting their involvement? So by giving local currency or a gift voucher or anything which will promote the local business. So we will have a promotion of business as well as the involvement of people from the community. So that was our last one, to engage the community involvement between the council and the public. So these are the points we have discussed. And next slide, please. So we concluded and we have come up with the idea that why it is important for our community. So involving our community and collaboration from people from different diverse ethnicity to make people feel happy and secure and being part of the community. More than anything, being part of the community is a great challenge we can come up with so that we can engage each and every part of the people from different part of the world. Newham is the best place. I would say that we are people of different colors and different communities, and so that we can engage all these recommendations will engage all people of different age and community, and definitely this will reflect in well-being and the mental health for people all around the borough. And this will also tackles from the global warming issue as well. So we as a community together, we are here to fight against everything which is possible, and I hope everything will go very well after this recommendation. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll now hand over to my colleague, Mr. Nareen. Thank you.
Good evening to you, Chair and Mayor. Greening the borough was the discussion where we all came together as Newham Citizens Assembly. And one of the themes out of the 7 big recommendations is maintenance and litter. Standing on its own, maintenance and litter alone could be enough. All of us naturally get attracted to neat and clean things, and our parks and green spaces are no exception. We want our parks and green spaces as destination places that we can be proud of and we can shout about. Maintenance is a big part of this process, maintenance and litter, and it's a very big ticket item, even if it's the only theme that council focuses on. In the maintenance and litter creative community engagement education will be best to approach to improve social responsibility and positive behavior change across the schools, across community centres, across the spectrum in the borough, and then ensure proper investment in the parks. Obviously, maintenance and litter is a multifaceted, multi-responsibility approach. All of us are in it. We need to keep our parks and green spaces clean. We're all responsible individually as residents and the council as the steward and the leader. So the bit I heard earlier on was pretty heartening from Councillor Beckles and Councillor Assa. Some initiatives already launched, fantastic news. This will ensure parks and green spaces will be attractive to residents and visitors, and it'll improve the health and well-being. Next slide, please. Can we move on to the next slide? Yeah. The actions to ensure maintenance litter is done properly, clean, green, Newham tidy initiative, improve creativity, businesses to be included, proper investment, obviously, not only from the council taxpayers, but also from businesses and charities around, or probably even from the central government, calling for a decisive action to make Newham Parks the destination place, which will definitely be a massive improvement for all the residents. And then explore creative ways to encourage recycling. We already heard that some initiatives have already been launched, so that's absolutely fantastic. And next slide, please. Move to the next. So in recognizing the two initiatives or two councillors who spoke about the initiatives undertaken, plus the recommendations that the Newham Citizen Assembly has made, we feel it should be some spaces where we could strive for national awards of recognition. It'll definitely improve health and well-being. People have talked about it. Community cohesion, yes, it'll improve that, but needs to be fully monitored and overseen. Improving relationship with council and community groups, I think it is self-explanatory as a result of multi-ethnicity and multi-faith borough. Better use of green spaces for all to enjoy, not just a few, and businesses to be rewarded. I think we talked about it.
Speaker,
earlier.
Mr. Laselvi, your time is almost up. Could you kind of wrap up in the next 30 seconds, please?
And that is the end of my slide, and I'll hand over to Habib.
Hi, thank you very much, Noreen, for that. Basically, the impact of the process on us as an individual, as a group, as a resident, and an individual on me. Impact of this Citizens Assembly has been absolutely brilliant. It gave us an idea, an insight of what that council are actually doing. It's the first Citizens Assembly in Europe, in England, shall I say, sorry, in the UK. It's absolutely been brilliant. And together, let's make Newham a flagship borough where others can follow. And now pass it on to Malal.
Thank you, Nareen. Sorry. Thank you, Habib. For me, I felt that I am involved in the activities about our Newham Borough, and getting my voice and view recorded, and people out there to listen to our voices. That is the best thing I would say. And this is the great opportunity for me to convey my
excuse me.
idea.
Sorry. Hello, speaker. Sorry to interrupt. but you've expired the time that you have to present report. How many more speakers do you have?
Just the last two, actually, Chair.
Last two. Well, look, you've run over time, so can I give you 1 minute each, please? And then conclude the report, okay?
Okay, right. I'll just quickly run through the impact on me. I just felt that the process of New Citizens Assembly initially was artificial, a bit uncomfortable, structured stuff. Later on became extremely natural due to the facilitators who guided us and guided me. Overall, it's become such a superb, joyful endeavor that I'd wish that Permanent Citizen Assembly could continue because it can contribute to helping council's political process. Thank you, Chair. I'll pass on to the next one, Charmaine, I think.
Thank you so much. This assembly, it was a really good opportunity to speak with all the New Hampshire citizen, which is 50 of us. We took this part and we have done really hard work. I hope it is just to give the clear-cut message to the mayor and achieve what we have done in 5 days. And I would like to see in the future, yes, this we have done. And then this is not just the only one. My recommendation things is ongoing. This is the first, and I hope the mayor will decide to do future other bigger issue, which is going through all the people's the borough. So this was really a good for me, and I hope good for everybody. So I'm going to pass Veronica. Thank you.
Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you. I'll speak briefly. My impact has been good. Exposure to different perspectives and mindsets.
Sorry, excuse me. You said you only had 2 speakers left. Now you're a 3rd speaker. Okay.
I think that was a mistake. We've literally just got one very quick speaker, and then that's it. Sorry.
Right. I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll give you 30 seconds, okay?
Thank you. We, the Citizen Assembly, need to see a change in all our green spaces, entrusting the safety for all our residents and for the betterment of our environment. We need to see how this council would work with this society to make things happen. We need to see action, equitable decision-making, accountability, transparency, and engagement. So we ask for you to inspire us, the people, by proving your service, your due diligence to us residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And certainly is appreciated your efforts. So thank you very much for being with us this evening. Can I now call on Mayor Fiaz to introduce and move the recommendations in report? You have up to 5 minutes, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. And if I may, I trust this is going to be taken in the spirit that it's intended. Hang on, let me start again. Sorry, I trust that this is going to be taken in the spirit that it's intended. I mean, what we've heard from the residents that participated in our first Permanent Citizen Assembly, which, as they mentioned in their contributions, is a first that's been established in this country. And my thanks especially to Malar, Habib, Veronica, Charmaine and Narin for presenting today. Maybe something that we need to be discussing as a council is adaptations to the Constitution and review it so that there's more time given to residents that are reporting back to full council following their deliberations in a standing Citizen Assembly. And just by way of clarification, I understand that constitutionally only 15 minutes is allocated for suspension of procedure rules to allow for debate. And if we're serious about participatory democracy, we also need to evolve. So look, I I also want to thank the Democratic Society, for whom we are greatly indebted for their expertise in helping us facilitate and establish this citizen assembly. And, you know, it's been a really significant moment. As mentioned, we're the first council in the country to establish a permanent assembly of this kind, and I'm really proud of that. I noted the comments around, you know, an equitable involvement in decision-making, accountability, transparency, and actually action on the recommendations that have been put forward, and all of that will be intently listened to and responded to as myself and the wider cabinet consider the recommendations and bring forward our response formally at a meeting of the cabinet in early December. And the Citizen Assembly is an absolutely crucial part of fulfilling our promise to transform the way we work as a council, to genuinely deepen local democracy, and more importantly, to rebuild trust with our residents and to create that real partnership between the council and the people. And to this end, we have made it really clear that Newham will become a beacon of participatory democracy. And I know that these things aren't easy, that they can feel messy, certainly for an organisation that is so used to doing things in a certain way. But if we are serious about listening and acting on what our residents say, we need to follow through in adapting and evolving similarly. And we should all be proud that in just under 4 years, Newham has gone from being a council that presumed it always knew best and kept residents out of the decision-making process very much at arm's length, to one that very much pulls residents in. And that, for me, is a manifestation of people at the heart of everything that we do. I wanted to go on to the subject matter that the residents engaged around and across, how we can improve our parks and green spaces. And I really welcome the work that the 50 residents who made up this assembly have developed together. I think there's some really crucial issues that they've touched upon which go to the heart of our policy priorities and will really help us take them forward. More than that, I wanted to really touch on some of the specific recommendations that were made. So in the area of making our public spaces safer, cleaner and greener, you will have heard the announcements this evening by Councillor James Beckles and Councillor James Asser about the importance, the ongoing importance of this under this administration that I lead. And we will continue, looking at ways in which we can improve in this area of our work. And on the theme of building on our community spirit and involving more residents, the recommendations also show that improving our community is everyone's business. There are a spectrum of challenges that we all face as members of this community here in Newham. And the council itself doesn't have all the answers, and it's really important that we work and involve our local businesses, our local residents, community organisations, faith organisations, all of whom can play a really valuable role in how we contend with those challenges as well as those opportunities. And then the area of building on our work to tackle the climate emergency. So there were several recommendations that the Assembly participants made focused on the work that we need to do as a borough to ensure our future generations can enjoy our public spaces and habitats, but also as part of our wider contribution to dealing and contending with the climate emergency that we all face. And I mentioned in my announcements this evening in advance of COP 26, I've signed up to the pledge by UK 100 to increase our response to the requirements around net zero at a swifter pace. There was also some really interesting recommendations around the use of data and digital as a platform for innovation in this area. And I'm really, really excited about that, not least because a couple of weeks ago, we launched our Newham Sparks initiative, a call to action to invite residents, local businesses, innovators to help us leverage the power of technology and data specifically to deal with some of these common challenges that we face, including safety in our green spaces and in our parks. So really, just once again, thank you so much to everyone that's been involved in this first permanent session of the this first session of the Permanent Citizen Assembly that we have established here in Newham. I'm looking forward to engaging with the ideas and also meeting with the participants in response to their recommendations and setting out what it is that we can take forward immediately and over the coming years. And then I'm also looking forward to welcoming other residents who will be participating in the next permanent Citizens Assembly session, which will be taking place early parts of next year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder, please? Councillor Assa. If you want to speak, you have up to 3 minutes to do so.
Thank you, Chair. I won't take the full 3 minutes, hopefully, to give other people time to ask questions and discuss. But well, second, the words the Mayor has brought, this is obviously as she said, our first Permanent Citizens Assembly. And as it was talking about greening the borough, and it very much touched in my area of responsibility for environment, I was very involved in this and had the privilege to attend and join with the representatives on there to discuss their proposals. I think it's been really interesting to see what they've brought forward. I think it is very much in tune with the stuff we are keen to do and working on, and it was a very constructive and forward-thinking process. I think the things that have come forward tie in very much with the stuff we've seen coming through from the neighbourhood community assemblies too, where again there has been a great focus on greening the borough and parks and green spaces, and perhaps the last 18 months has really highlighted for people the importance of our open spaces for people as we've been facing the lockdown. I think perhaps the only negative we all faced in terms of the Citizens Assembly is that we were all stuck on Zoom rather than being able to be in a room together. Whilst we managed to have some really good discussions, it would be lovely to see everyone back together again soon. It did feel slightly odd when you were talking about open spaces to not even be in the same room, but such has been the situation in the last few months, and I'm very much looking forward to meeting people soon. And we've seen from the recommendations we've discussed tonight, of course, about litter and cleaning, which has obviously come up as part of the recommendations, which I know they've acknowledged the messages this evening. We'll certainly be working on those. I also note in there that there was a recommendation about national awards and national recognition, and I'll take this advantage to, if people haven't seen it, on Friday we were celebrating the fact that Plashet Park had received its Green Flag Award for the 6th year in a row. Great to make sure that that's got that back, but also really excitingly we'd expanded, and East Ham Central Park, our flagship park owned by the council, got its green flag for the first time. That's really good news for the borough, and we're ambitious to expand that. So that very much ties in with the work and the messages that have been coming through from the Citizens Assembly. I won't preempt the report that the Mayor has said we're bringing, but I think it's fair to say that people, I hope, won't be disappointed. I think we're probably working on to the same agenda, very much with the same ambitions, and we'll be looking to bring forward plans that meet your recommendations, and they tie very nicely with ours. And I hope very much to meet you all soon, hopefully in a park with a spade and a shovel, rewilding, planting trees, and doing all the work you've recommended. So we'll see you all very soon. But it's been a really interesting and a very positive experience to take part, and I'm really pleased to see that so much of what we're trying to do matches your ambitions, and very much look forward to working with you and the wider community on delivering that.
Thank you very much. We now move to the debate. Does any member wish to speak? Yeah, Josh, Councillor Gupta, did I see another hand? Councillor Susan Masters, take it in another order, please. Josh Garfield.
Thank you, Chair. I hope you'll forgive me this indulgence of a winter coat, but this very well aerated room is rather chilly, although much safer for all of us. Thank you, everybody involved in the Citizen Assembly, for that presentation. It was excellent, as are the recommendations. Recommendations I'm sure we can all pretty much in full agree with, because they tend to get to the core of why we're here as councillors, because it's about making our borough safer, cleaner and greener. And that is 100% why we're here. And making our borough greener is something that we've committed to time and time again ever since we declared a climate emergency, because that is what we're facing. Now, tackling the climate emergency, absolutely about making our borough cleaner, but it's also about making sure that those green spaces are accessible to everybody in the community, and making sure that how we travel around and how we get to those green spaces themselves are greened routes. We need to look at how we design cities in this country, because how you design a town and a city can either exacerbate the consequences of climate change or it can mitigate against them. And all the recommendations that I've heard here tonight are ways in which we can mitigate the effects of climate change. Now, a couple of months ago, just before the summer or during one of the various heat waves that we had, itself a result of climate change, you will remember we experienced a series of flash floods in London, many of which hit Newham pretty hard. Now, where we are right now in Stratford, my ward, used to be a marsh. Now, many would say it probably still is somewhat of a marsh, given the experience we had in the early summer, but it used to be a marsh, and that is why the fact that we are still building developments that are clad in concrete, that are laid on impermeable surfaces, especially in an area that is effectively still a marsh, is something that we need to mitigate against and change as we green our environment and we tackle those effects of climate change. So we need to look, I think, to our friends across the border in Waltham Forest who have seen the beautiful effects of taking spaces that were once dominated by cars, dominated by pollutant vehicles, impermeable surfaces that are terrible at exacerbating the effects of flooding, and instead replacing them with rain gardens, and instead doing things like rewilding the planters that we use for our LTNs in the north of the borough, in my ward in Stratford and in Forest Gate. Those are excellent ways in which we've seen the community come together to reintroduce wildlife, because it's not just about making the area more pleasant as much as it does that, but it's about ensuring that there is a future in our borough, in our communities, and on this planet for our children and our children's children. So I look forward to us implementing these recommendations, and I thank everybody involved for bringing them to us, but I also look forward to us going much further and making sure that far more of our borough is green and sustainable than it is impermeable and pollutant. Thank you.
Thank you for your timing on that one, Josh. Councillor Dasgupta, please.
Thank you very much. I feel like Councillor Garfield has said most of the things I wanted to say, but I just wanted to congratulate the Citizens Assembly team for working so hard and producing this list of recommendations for us. I think this is a good example of what this council has been trying to do in trying to move away from a top-down approach to a bottoms-up approach, to kind of really put into practice what participatory democracy is, to see our residents coming up with recommendations for us to implement. I've spoken to lots of my residents in Canning Town, and they've always told me how exciting it has been for them to feel like they have got a voice in making change in the council, in making change in the area that they live in making a change for their own homes. I think it's very clear to say that even with the community assembly grants that we gave out in the last few weeks and months, that a lot of those projects were also about green spaces. So climate change and green spaces is something that's extremely important to our residents in Newham. I'm also very particularly excited that a lot of the recommendations and action points over here relate to engaging young people. I think it would be great to also, over time, to hear the views of the Assembly, how we can better engage with our young people and keep making these spaces inclusive, and how as elected members we can engage and make sure that we are able to work with them and really kind of implement all of these recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor Susan Masters, please.
I'd also like to say a huge thank you to the people who participated in our first Citizens Assembly or Standing Citizens Assembly. I think the bit that cheered me though was, apart from the fact you had a recommendation around park keepers, which is one of these things I've sort of often spoken in favour of. So I'm really glad that, you know, this now has further endorsement. What really cheered me was the positivity of the responses to the experience. And I'd be really interested in knowing if off the back of it, your friends and relatives have now been inspired to get more involved in democracy. And my other question is, you know, we've still got to decide what will happen with this report, but with the recommendations that are going forward, how you'll be involved in their execution, because, you know, getting a recommendation accepted is just the sort of start of the road. You've then got to sort of see it brought through and see the challenges it faces and understand how complicated it can be sometimes sort of bringing about change. But I really hope that you'll be able to sort of continue on the road and sort of follow at least some of these recommendations through. And again, I'd like to thank you for taking part.
Any other member? Sugar at the back, Deputy Mayor, Councillor John Whitworth, in that order, please. Sugar.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I would like to congratulate all these participants from our community as a part of this.
You need to speak up. I don't think we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Thank you. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to speak. First of all, I would like to send my heartiest congratulations to all these members who volunteered to take part in the Citizen Assembly. And this is the new era. This is another additional opportunity for the public to be here, and more the administration being accountable to the concerns of the public. And it's fantastic avenue for the Neom residents. They can air their concerns, and they have meticulously presented their issues and then how they're going to tackle. And it is very interesting because the era is changing, the new way of doing the administration and the way of the democracy evolving new era, new wings, because of the technology is changing, the digital world is coming into. And I know that one of the participants who is an IT consultant, Mara Selvi, and she is very skilled. And I really wonder how these skilled people are coming to volunteer and serve our community and better administration for our residents. So thank you once again for all those. And again, thanks to all the fantastic colleagues who've spoken and welcome these people. So what my understanding is that the more of the concerns I heard about the climate changing and the flight tippings. And thanks again for the Councillor James Sasha for his fantastic project to rolling out to tackle our flight tipping. I can see the changes in my ward and beyond my ward, the changes taking place. So it is very important to getting involved the public, because what the administration can do, they can do, but the changing of culture is very important, and that is the core issues. What I can see that I can see that can be addressed by this Citizen Assembly. So because the people's involvement is very important, all the best wishes for this project to be rolled out, and we can get reach our goal, that better and cleaner air for our borough residents, and as well as the reaching our climate emergency goal. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Councillor Charlene McLean.
Thank you, Chair. It's so wonderful to hear from the members of the Citizens Assembly. I lead on the community assemblies, which is a different process, but I'm all for people participating in democracy within the borough. I would be interested to know, I'm not sure if I'm able to ask questions of the people that presented to us, but if not, I'm sure I could see a show of hands of anyone who actually took part in the community assembly within their area. I'm, probably thinking maybe not, because it's a diverse bunch. It's not people that I've seen before. I do go to all of the community assemblies as part of my role, but it's just so lovely to see people involved And I hope to see you at one of our community assemblies soon. Thank you.
Councillor John Whitworth.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I would just like to echo what my colleagues have said in thanking the members of the Citizens' Assembly for their hard work and participation. And I was really pleased to see it's been a positive experience for you. And I think it's points the way to the future where we can expand participatory democracy and involvement of people in the community. A very positive start. As far as the recommendations are concerned, as the colleagues have said, and I won't repeat, they do chime very well with the policies which the Council wants to carry out as far as the response to climate change, the greening of the environment, the cleansing of the air. And there are a number of details that were proposed that I think will be really beneficial for us. It does, though, pose a challenge to us because it must be clean and green and safe. And it does, your proposals do actually coincide with the announcements tonight by Councillors James Beckles and James Asser, which I very much welcome, about a renewed effort to combat litter and fly tipping. But your proposals do demand quite a lot of investment. Particularly, for example, if we can create a lot more small green spaces in all the neighbourhoods around the borough, that will really improve the environment and quality of life. But we do know that when pleasant places are created, it does tend to attract people who want to spend time there, and the way they spend their time is not always welcomed by the people in the neighbourhood. And that's where we get antisocial behaviour and littering. So it does need quite a lot of enforcement and resources and investment. So that is the challenge which has been, well, one of the challenges which you pose for us. And I can see we are improving our response to these problems, and we need to continue to raise our game so we can actually create these really nice areas and improve the facilities of our parks to improve the quality of life in our borough. And I thank you very much for your input.
Thank you. Councillor Islam, did you indicate you wanted to speak? No, okay. I saw you waving your pencil, you see.
I was just wondering whether it's okay for council to extend standing orders.
Don't think, no, will we need to?
Give us 1 minute, please.
Yeah, obviously it's free for you to move it.
Yeah, I'll just move it because I'm worried that we might not make time. So
Yeah.
that's okay with the council.
Yeah. How long do you think your item's going to take?
Sorry, I don't.
You've got to come
15
back.
minutes.
You've got your item next. Is
Yeah.
that likely to take us?
Right.
And treasury management.
Okay, I tell you what, just 1 minute, please. I tell you what we do. We'll take that ruling, and if we need to use the time, but therefore we'll use it. If not, well, we finish a bit earlier. Okay. So, do we have a seconder to move standing orders for how long?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. Do we have a seconder? Councillor, thank you. Lots of seconders. Councillor Carly the Pathway. Let's have the vote on this. Is that agreed? I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Chair.
Right. Any more contributors? Any other member who want to speak on this topic? Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Fayaz, you have the right to reply, if you so wish.
Oh, no, no, Chair. Thank you.
We move to vote on this, don't we? We vote on this. Yep, we move to the vote. Okay. All those members of council physically present at this meeting location, the recommendations that there are 3 reports contained in the appendices are noted. Is that recommendation agreed?
Agreed.
Any against? That is carried. Thank you very much indeed. Agenda item 18, update on COVID-19 pandemic response. Can I ask Mayor Fiaz to move the recommendation in report? And you have up to 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Colleagues, you'll recall that at last month's full council meeting, we brought the substantive paper pertaining to the council's response to COVID-19, and that was preceded by a report that was presented to formal cabinet on the 16th of September. And following some additional areas of inquiry and questions by members at last month's full council meeting, I provided the assurance that we would bring back an additional report in the form of an addendum, as it were, to provide an update on those key areas as raised. So this report is an outline of the steps that the council has been taking to tackle violence against women and girls during the period of the pandemic since March last year, and how it's also been integrated into the Towards a Better Newham Recovery and Reorientation Strategy that was published last July, and what we will be focusing on the coming year. And some of the actions as set out on the report include rightly strengthening partnerships across the borough to agree a shared model of understanding as it pertains to violence against women and girls, particularly in a borough context where we have such diversity and where mainstream provision doesn't sufficiently pick up on some of those issues as it pertains to violence against women and girls from minoritized communities in our borough. And the report sets out how we're going to go about addressing that as a council. Similarly, the report sets out how we are going to be working closely with a whole range of commissioned providers to increase and expand how we as a council publicises violence against women and girls and the support services through the commissioning process that we've undertaken, and also to increase the offer of virtual services in lieu of face-to-face support. And the report in this section ensures how we are looking after our looked after children through the recovery phase that we're now in. We all know that young people have been particularly hard hit and impacted by COVID-19, the disruption that the pandemic caused in terms of their educational lives, needing to shift rapidly to remote learning, and the corresponding emotional impact that that has had. Which is all part of a recovery approach that very much places the well-being and health, the emotional well-being and health of our young people at the centre. And the recovery plans in this area very much about building on priorities that we've already set out, i.e. Ensuring that we're enabling those looked after children to be able to build trusted and safe relationships, be able to access education, but particularly in the context of the recovery curriculum, training and employment opportunities, etc. And so the report finally also shares the assessment that we've made of the impact of COVID-19 on democratic participation arrangements. I know that that's been an area of concern for a few councillors here at the council, and the steps that we've taken to enable people to take part in our council and community meetings, which all had to be shifted online. In several cases, this has actually increased participation of people through these online platforms that we've used, and we will continue to make sure that we are involving, inclusive, and use a variety of methods and platforms in order to enable residents to be involved, but also ensure that we put in place the public health safety measures required, so the councillors and members of the public are safe during our face-to-face meetings. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Do we have a seconder? Deputy Mayor Councillor Charlene McLean, second. Councillor Wilson, you had your hand raised. Was it a question or you want to come in on the debate? Sorry? Debate. Okay, in that case, we move to the debate. Councillor Wilson.
I'm glad, thank you very much for the update that's been provided on page 65. But despite my very best endeavours and in correspondence, I'm disappointed that the report does not contain figures regarding for instance, on the top of page 74, I did specifically ask at the last full council that we did have some more data to show the impact of these very good initiatives. 352, for instance, says this work was further supported through additional funds secured through the DFE Holiday and Activity Fund, which I presume with my knowledge of the DFE, they'd want some return. So I'm not asking officers to ask for extra work, it just thinks it's too general. With a further 33 partners, including 4 schools. We haven't even named the schools, I don't know why. And we did have Orwellian Newspeak at the last report. For instance, the report that comes under Appendix A, I did criticise it at the time, just out of interest. I'm still waiting to know what it means, because it says there, I think I've got the page reference, page 70, bear with me, colleagues, page 88, 89. I did specifically ask for numbers, and that's my main point, but also clarity in our report, because on page 89, it does say, which is in the appendix, page 88, sorry, we are now actively working to develop and embed this as a single front door model for Newham that will also incorporate social prescribing and the Your Time service. And then goes on in 687, we're also developing a universal and targeted intensive summer program. But now the summer is over and we are well established in autumn, I would have thought that we'd have figures both for our partners, but also for the wider education and youth service community to show the very real work. I happen to know that there is some really good work going on, but I think that we need to actually say, despite this really awful and unpredictable pandemic, a lot of our officers are working very tirelessly in both youth services and in children's services. And speaking as a mental health champion, working with East London Foundation and the very issues that are nationally known in terms of CAMS, I would like figures. So I'm slightly frustrated of E13. I did have this correspondence offline and in another place, and I'm still not getting it.
Thank you. Councillor McLean, you had seconded. Did you want to speak? Okay, thank you. Any other member? Councillor Tony McAlmont.
Chair, we know that certain ethnicity are more at risk of contracting the COVID-19 virus. They haven't been identified in the report. So can I ask why not? And what are we as a council doing? And what work are we doing specifically with those groups to make certain that they are not further exposed, but to make certain that the disease is contained within those groups? Thank you.
Any other member? I think that's a no. Councillor Fiaz, you have the right to reply if you so wish.
I used to be a councillor once.
Sorry. It's the
it's okay.
Murphyas, okay?
Don't worry. Thank you very much. Look, Councillor Neil, I can only just apologise for the report that's coming back tonight, not having the level of detail in terms of the data that you had rightly requested in another place. And I had emailed you afterwards asking for you to set out specifically what it was that you were looking for the report to capture. So I'll have to check as to why that wasn't sufficiently responded to. It may well be a consequence of things getting lost in translation or the constraints of time, because I know that this report was quite a quick turnaround report, given that ordinarily full council reports have a lead-in time of about 3 months, if not longer, here at the council. That aside, please be reassured that the data is available and it will be contained in other corresponding and really important documents that demonstrate the transparency across these issues, but also enable you as members to hold the executive and the council to account. And I make specific reference to the Towards a Better Newham recovery performance outcomes-based reports, which are produced every quarter, and that will set out with the data requirements across each of the areas that we have identified as being areas that we need to progress with as part of our response to COVID-19 and everything that illuminated. And that leads me into a neat segue to the question posed by Councillor Anthony McColmont. Similarly, Tony, the report is an addendum to a substantive one that came at last month's cabinet, but it's not meant to be a replacement for the core source report, which is the Towards a Better Newham outcomes-based performance framework that's produced quarterly, but also the source report, which is Towards a Better Newham, which sets out the way in which different minority communities in our borough have been particularly impacted. And there's been a huge amount of data analysis around the economic and health impacts of that, and also through the work that the Health and Wellbeing Board do in all the reports that it produces that comes to the Health and Wellbeing Board. And we've just got to find a neater way of connecting those corresponding and integrated strategies that are presented at different forums, so that at least there's an easier way of being able to triangulate or reference and enable you to be provided the information that you both want and seek. But please be assured the economic and health impact for the borough as a whole, but also in the context of specific minoritized, marginalized groups, be they based on ethnicity or class or gender, is very much at the heart of what we're addressing through the Towards a Better Newham recovery strategy, which we launched last July.
Thank you very much indeed. We will now move to the vote. Only those members of council physically present at this meeting location, the recommendation is to note the report. Is that recommendation agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Sorry, anyone against? That is carried. For those members involved in the previous agenda item, Citizens Assembly, who is still with us, if you want to leave, you're free to do so. And thank you very much for being with us. Thank you. Agenda item 19, which is the Treasury Management Report year ending 2020-2021 and quarter update 2021 to 2022. Can I ask Councillor Terry Paul to move the recommendation in the report, please? And you have up to 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Chair. The report laid before Council for the members of the public zooming in. This report breaks down what our Treasury Management portfolio is, what its terms are, potential indicators, our interest rate forecast, which I'll come on to in a moment, our loan maturities and our commercial loans. To give assurance to members here and those listening, there are no major movements on our balance sheet at all. This is part of our statutory duty. As we know, we're on a mission to improve our governance and to improve our transparency as an organisation with regard to our finances. And this is us proving to the council and the members of the public that we are following our statutory duties, which we are, and laying out for council what our statutory requirements are there. So those councillors and members of the public looking, you can see what we are doing in your name, which is really important. However, I just want to say 2 points, Chair, if I can, and indulge. I mentioned earlier on, this is part of us showing our transparency and governance. And just to alert members and members of the public, but Newham recently received an unqualified audit report for our 2021 statement of accounts. And just to put it into context for everyone, we are one of the first boroughs in London to achieve that for that financial year 2021. Newham is in the top 10%, and I say top 10% nationally, of councils to have signed off their accounts. And I think that is a tribute, if I can, Chair, to members of the finance team. And I pay particular tribute to Conrad Hall, he's our Director of Financial Resources, our Section 151, and to Andrew Ward, who's a Deputy 151. And also, there are many members of the finance team, which I don't want to get them wrong. So I'll just say thank you to the finance team for doing a great job. They know who they are, and we'll be doing something separate just to say thank you and well done. But also, just to say to everybody, we have signed our accounts off 2 months earlier than last year. And just to put it into a context, we were a council who couldn't sign our accounts off for a number of years. So I'll just put it into context there. And one other final point, Chair. This report must be put into the context of our current financial situation. On the 27th of October, the Chancellor is having his comprehensive spending review, where we will know what monies we will get from the government. Just to say on that, and I'll remind everyone, the previous Secretary of State for Community said to councils, spend what you have to do to keep your residents safe. We did that. And obviously the COVID report alluded to that, and over the years, we've told people what we have done. We are approximately £8 million short from us keeping our residents safe. Currently, last month I reported, our deficit is £5.8 million, down from 12.5 in May. So we're on a journey, we're doing really well. Just to put it into context, we still want from the government our £8 million. We haven't got it. If we had that money, we wouldn't be overspent. And remember, our mission and our job is to keep our residents safe. But Chair, back to the original point of this report, this is our statutory requirements, us proving our transparency, us proving our governance. But I thought you would allow me to indulge the importance of us signing our accounts off and being one of the top London boroughs and the top boroughs in the country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder to the report? I guess you would. Thank you very much, Councillor Ruiz, second. We now move to the debate. Does any member wish to speak? Councillor Wilson indicating.
Yeah, just very briefly, on behalf of the Audit Committee, can I echo the words of both Terry and what I said at audit the other day, that, you know, it's quite good to be in a position where external validation of the strong work of the finance team is not just reflected in the very good presentation of the accounts, both to us as an audit committee, but more in this context to our external auditors, and, you know, there is a tribute to the officers. Can I also say that the audit committee will keep up the pressure on, you know, making certain that we are as open and transparent, and that we will no longer be in this position as we might historically be, where we were marking our own homework. And I think that's a great tribute to both officers and the quality of the reports coming to audit. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Any other member wishing to speak? I think that's a no. Councillor Paul, if you want to reply, you have up to 3 minutes to do so. It's your right of reply.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to cement the point by Councillor Wilson and the about the audit report and the audit committee, sorry, and about the assurance. Just to tell members, the previous lead member of finance used to chair the audit committee. I am banned from going to the audit committee, which is rightly so. I am invited and summoned to appear, and rightly so. And obviously, we are given a very interrogative and rigorous going over by the audit report. But it's important I sort of cement that point, because I think we have to show to the residents that we are serious about us improving and cleaning up our situation, and never going back to a situation where we weren't quite sure what our finances were or what they were telling us. And I just pay tribute to the audit board, but also to the improved internal governance arrangements which support that as well, and also to the new independent chair of the audit report. Thank you, Chair, and thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We'll now move to the vote. Those in favour of the report, please indicate.
Agreed.
Oh, it's agreed. Thank you very much indeed. That is carried. Item number 20. Are there any appointments to be made by the mayor?
No, Chair.
Thank you very much. Right.
Chair?
Yep.
I think the Whip's office has a proposal.
What is the proposal?
Sorry, I've rushed it this time again. Oh, am I waiting for you to call me?
Yeah.
I'll let the chair lead.
Well, okay. You have some appointments to be made as the chief whip, right?
Oh, thank you, Chair.
Yes.
All I'm
So
going to say,
you may carry on.
do I have permission, Chair?
You do have permission, yes.
Okay. Well, the Majority Group Whip's office would like to propose and agree the community representative, Madeline Marcateas, a project manager for Money House, to the membership of the Corporate Parenting Board. And I just propose for council to support and agree our appointment. Sorry. Do we need a seconder, Chair?
We need a seconder, we do. Yeah, and Councillor Lofthouse is seconded. So we can now move to the vote on that. It's only one person. There's only one person you're appointing, isn't it?
It's only one. We don't have any more at this stage.
Okay, thank you. Could we agree to that recommendation, Council? Yeah. Any objectors to that?
Chair, I just have a question for clarification.
Yeah.
If it's an appointment agenda item and it's an announcement by the Majority Group Whip's office, is that subject to a vote? And is it a vote because it's an independent person being appointed?
Okay, yeah, carry on.
I mean, it simply needs a vote because it's an appointment by full council, so it needs to be approved by full council. And I think there was possibly a query about the other two appointments, which are officer appointments. So that the post holders of those offices simply go into those roles rather than requiring an appointment. If I picked up that, if that answers two questions in one.
Everybody's nodding their head, so it must be an agreement. Yes?
Can I take my seat, Chair, now? I assume this agreed.
Did they actually vote on it?
Yeah.
They just need to agree it.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor. Could we have an agreement on the recommendation? Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Well done, Councillor Islam.
You want to thank the Citizens Assembly people for coming.
Sorry,
I did.
You did thank the Citizens Assembly.
That's it.
That brings us to the end of this meeting. So thank you all very much for coming, and thank you for your